So with the current global situation, a lot of us are a bit shorter on cash than we would normally be, myself included. And while every single store is pumping out incredible sales to try and get us to buy in order to move their stock, sometimes the sales, even though they're amazing, £108 for a pair of low-cut Predator 20.1s is incredible, £108 is still a lot of money. It's still £108. So today I'm going to show you what is probably the cheapest top-end model that you can buy right now from a football outlet. I'm not talking about jumping on eBay. I'm not talking about jumping over onto Instagram sellers. This is from ProDirect. So you can jump on to the ProDirect website here, pick this boot up in almost every single size for a ridiculous price. If you are short on cash and you need a new pair of boots for when football starts up again, you should definitely be considering these. I'm James, welcome to BootWizard Boot Reviews. Remember to like and share the video, get subscribed to the channel, and here is my review and the first ever BootWizard Bargains video featuring the Puma Evopower 1.3. In a change from normal, I'm not going to jump straight into telling you about the upper. We're going to start with value for money because that's what we're all here for. And quite simply, these are a top-end boot retailing for £30 in a full size range at ProDirect. There is nothing that comes close to this for this quality, for this price on the market right now from a major retailer. Guaranteed, I think. If you don't know or haven't tried the Evopower 1.3, don't worry about it. Puma were probably even more underrated and less used back in 2016 when this was released than they are now. Don't be put off by the fact that this was released in 2016. All you have to do is go and look at the retro review I did recently of the Superfly 4. A lot of boots that were released several years ago are still fantastic options and offer you really premium, high quality product. And this is one of them. So back to the price, as I say, £30 British. If you are looking to get anything around that price point, you are looking at an Adidas 0.4 level model, a Nike Club level model, a Puma 0.4 level model. These are just not even in the same league as this boot. They are cheap, really low takedown models that I generally don't recommend at all. There's always something better out there for the price. If you've got this kind of money and you are willing to move away from something that has a swoosh or 3 stripes, you've got to consider this. And I'm going to break down all of that for you now and tell you why. Now we get to the upper, and this is where the Evopower really gets me. The upper is an Adapt-Lite synthetic upper, which is ridiculously soft. It's so soft. It is softer than a lot of boots that are being released today, the modern day boots. It will give anything a run for its money. And even though it's soft, it does have a one-way stretch. So that means that when you move laterally, there's still a decent amount of support and the lockdown isn't bad. The stretch being in this direction, so it stretches down the boot, all plays into how the boot works and how it's designed to give you a more powerful shot. More on that later when we talk about the sole plate. So along with this super soft Adapt-Lite upper, you also get the AccuFoam, which is built in to the inside of the boot. And what this is like a memory foam that is designed to flatten out all of the creases and bumps and basically give you a smooth, clean striking surface. So with this boot, with the Evopower line as a whole, Puma put a lot of research into what gives you a more powerful shot. As I said, we'll talk about it with the sole plate, but they found that you need a fairly barefoot or close to the ball touch, which this does give you, but a little bit of padding allows you to hit the ball harder and with more confidence, and that clean striking surface is really important. So this is kind of trying to balance those two elements out, and the AccuFoam does a really good job of giving you this close to the ball feel, while also giving you a little bit of padding. So if you are really striking that ball and you're hitting it, you feel like you can do it over and over again because there's none of that sting involved. The final little element is the Grip Tex coating that is put on top of the boot to try and give you a little bit of extra grip and touch on the ball. It's kind of the same idea as Adidas's NSG, Nike's ACC, in that there's not really much evidence that it works, but at least you can see it in the streaks down the boot, unlike ACC. Around this time, a lot of boots were moving towards or had already moved to one-piece uppers. That's not the case with the Evopower. You get a standard tongue construction with an off-center lacing system in order to give you that bigger striking surface, but the whole setup doesn't harm the lockdown and responsiveness too much. Honestly, it's perfectly adequate in terms of lockdown and responsiveness without being mind-blowing. Overall, I really like this upper. It's incredibly soft, it molds to your foot fantastically, and the touch on the ball gives you a light, natural, little bit of a cushioned feel, which is all massively good news in my opinion, especially when we're on kind of a modern day power boot here. I do want to make a quick note on durability, which isn't something I normally do because it does vary pretty wildly from person to person depending on how you play, how you move, what surfaces you play on. But the Evopower 1.2, the version before this, had a huge durability issue, and I don't generally recommend it because it suffered a lot from sole separation. There is some reinforcement added to the 1.3, so the durability I did find to be a lot better. Weight, this is a 2016 boot, so let's see how it holds up in 2020. Getting it on the scales, these come in at 182 grams. Now, for comparison, let's put the current Puma Future 5.1 low on there, 218 grams. Now, they're very different boots made in very different ways, but just to give you a 2020 reference, these are very light. These are UKA, brand new condition. There's very few boots on the market right now that come in around this weight. This is a very impressive, very lightweight boot. If you want a lightweight power boot that has some of the characteristics I've mentioned, you can't really go wrong with this. It's very good. The sole plate is a bit of a tweak and an upgrade on what you got on previous Evopowers, and it's all good news for me because it does maintain this gradual stability outsole. So what this means is basically that the boot is stiffer through the heel and running up into the midfoot, and then this area here allows the boot gradually more and more flexibility. So as you get towards the front of the boot, it just kind of bends nicely. It's kind of a reverse version of what you're going to get from the Aerotrax outsole in the toe area of the new Mercurial. Now, the toe area of the outsole is pretty thin. It has these DuoFlex grooves in, which are basically designed to allow your foot to bend at relevant points. However, the whole outsole in the toe area also bends the wrong way, basically. This is not a direction that you would normally expect your sole plate to bend, especially these days with everything being stiffer or more springy through there. Now, this is because this whole gradual stability outsole is based around the idea of giving you a more powerful shot. And Puma did a lot of research overall for the Evopower line, and what they discovered with the sole plate is that when you strike a ball with bare feet and naturally, your foot bends and your toes curl, and you get a recoil effect, which basically allows you to generate more power on the ball than you would normally having your foot flat and hitting through it. It does make sense. In my opinion, this doesn't affect the outsole in any negative way, but it's also not a hugely noticeable feature. It doesn't work that well, and if you're expecting a huge power increase on your shot, it's not going to happen. Not with this, not with any boot. The stud pattern is also slightly modified from the previous generations. It still maintains a blend of bladed and conical studs, but the conical studs have been made thinner and they have a smaller profile, which means they do grab into the turf more. I think that's an improvement over what we previously had. And then they've repositioned all of these bladed studs. Again, there's research gone into this and it does make sense. So the idea being here that as you go to plant your foot down when you go to strike, your foot follows a certain pattern, and that pattern is mimicked in these bladed studs. So you go from heel on the outside to the inside, up to the outside again on these two studs here, and then onto the toe area. This is basically your range of motion within your foot, and it allows you to get a better grip and a better dig into the turf using these more stable, longer bladed style studs, which are a little bit oval. Again, the logic is fantastic. I don't think it makes a huge difference, but overall, this stud pattern I think is great. I think it does a very good job, and it gives you a nice balance. It's very stable, and you do get a good amount of aggression out of those lower profile conical studs and the blades. Definitely one that I recommend for FG. You'd probably just about get away with it on AG if your AG pitch is quite nice. Do be aware of what I said earlier though, AG pitches are more detrimental to the durability of a boot, and this super soft upper, especially on the older models, does have a tendency to separate if you're not careful. Looks wise, the whole Evopower line has a very similar look, with the 1.2 being the most different. This boot went back to a very similar look to what you get from the Evopower 1. Nothing wrong with it, it is quite low cut in the heel and this back area is fairly flexible. But on the whole, it's all about the colours really. The one that you can buy for £30 is the launch yellow and blue colourway, which I think looks quite nice, but it's all about preference. But for me, when I'm only paying £30 for a brand new pair of top end boots, I don't really worry about the looks too much. Taking a quick look inside the boot, we get this hex pattern in the back of the heel here that's designed to hold your foot in place and does a fairly good job, especially when the heel counter itself can feel a little bit shallow to me, but the pattern does a good job. Although heel lockdown is an area where they could have improved it a little bit, it's not going to cause you any heel slippage issues. It didn't for me anyway. As you move down the boot, you've got this mesh on the inside just covering up the AccuFoam. This is basically so there's no thick liner, and it makes your touch and feel on the ball still that little bit closer instead of having a full thick liner. Speaking of liners, moving to the insole, you get this Evopower insole, which is really nice. This is way beyond anything that you get from a current top-end model from any brand. You get these two big areas of yellow foam here, and this is just a better quality insole than what we get at the moment, and I have no complaints about this at all. It's really nice, and it definitely aids to the comfort of an already comfortable boot. On feet, these aren't crazy wide, but if you do have a wider foot, these should fit you pretty nicely. Unless you've got crazy wide feet, then they maybe still wouldn't be for you. Now size-wise, these have an anatomical shaped last, and what that means is that instead of having a regular, perfectly rounded shape at the toe, they actually come to a point near where your big toe would fit, and it's just a different shape. There's nothing wrong with it. But what it does mean is that particularly if you're a person whose toe next to their big toe, whatever that's called, is longer than their big toe, you might want to go up half a size, and overall a lot of people might want to consider going up that half size. It's quite a low toe box, and that anatomical shape does lead itself to making the boot a little bit more snug. Now personally, I stuck with my regular UK 8 and it fits me perfectly, and that's because that's how I want my boot to fit, very close, very tight. If you're worried about that, go up half a size and you'll still have a good fit in the length just because of the way that that sole plate is constructed. For £30, I don't think you can beat these as a bargain option right now. There are some Evo speeds on the same site that are definitely worth checking out, but when we're comparing it to current boots or even boots from last year or the year before, there's no competition. At £30, they can't be beat, and if you're looking for a bargain boot because you're a little bit short on cash, or you just want to try something different without spending a ton of money, then the Evopower 1.3 is definitely a serious Boot Wizard bargain. If you know of any similar deals, then drop them down in the comments. If there's any great ones in there, I might be able to pick them up and do a review. If you did like this video and you want to see more Boot Wizard Bargains videos, then do hit the like button. Of course, get subscribed to check out all of my future content. And if you do want to support the channel and choose how the channel is run and what direction we go in, then head over to Patreon, patreon.com/BootWizard, where you can pledge. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed the video and I hope you found it useful. But that's all from me here at Boot Wizard today. I hope you've enjoyed it. Have a good one, and we'll see you soon.